how far do you go? And do you go to some sort of extra length to maybe just send a message? Good morning to you. Good Wednesday morning. I'm Dejan Kovacevic of DK Pittsburgh Sports. This is Daily Shot of Penguins. It comes your way bright and early every weekday. If you're into football and or baseball, I also offer daily shots of Steelers and Pirates in the same place that you found this. Avalanche 4, Penguins 1 last night in Denver. I almost, you can tell from my tone here, cringing at sharing that score because I'm picturing somebody who wouldn't have stayed up last night to watch, who'd just be hearing that going, oh yeah, so they tanked another one, or they skated through the motions or whatever, or, had awful goaltending. None of that was the case, as anyone who watched this will attest. Penguins probably had their best post-Four Nations break performance. They were solid from front to finish, and I mean that in the ways that go beyond even the facets that I've already mentioned. What happens? There's 5 minutes left, tie game. Anthony Beauvillier takes an offensive zone penalty out of an extra effort move to get a puck back. Avs go on the power play. You know who they've got on that power play. It was the first time they had a man advantage. They scored on just a pristine saucer pass across the Pittsburgh crease that nobody had a chance of stopping, including Alex Nedeljkovic. 2-1, net's empty. 3-1, net's still empty. 4-1. And that's it. That's how they're going to go into the deadline. So if, and I'm being hypothetical here, if you're Kyle Dubas and you're looking for something that takes you into this deadline with a license to do almost anything, he's got that now. He does. There's nobody who'd dispute it. There's nobody who'd reasonably dispute it, I think. He can do pretty much everything shy of moving Sid, within the existing circumstances, of course. The question that has to be asked, and believe me, not just by us, but mostly by him, is how far do you go with the present concept that if I move this player of this age or this salary or this pedigree, and I get back the kind of returns that he's been getting, which have been draft picks, which have been prospects, and if you're looking at the Jake Gensel trade, which is the one big one that's occurred to date in this category, you're getting some of all of that. And you're making the team less expensive and younger and possibly more capable of supporting Sid and the rest of whatever would constitute the Penguins' core, that being with a lowercase c as opposed to the capital C. But there's a catch to this, and it's a pretty big one, because while that sounds plausible, and it actually is plausible if, say, for example, Ville Koivunen, Rutger McGroarty, Owen Pickering, and others who are already in Wilkes-Barre, and Harrison Brunick, and Tanner Howe, and others who are in the juniors a little bit farther away, if they pan out, okay, you've got something there. But it still has to account for Sid's age and however long Sid's actually going to be around. That's the one part of this clock that nobody can stop. Which brings me to Ricard Raquel and parenthetically, Brian Rust. Those, of course, are Sid's line mates. The Penguins scored 1 goal last night, and it was absolutely gorgeous between the three of them. You can see that they've really got something going. That's to the credit of everyone. I did not believe that Sid was going to have a winger on either side who was going to be able to make you not so much forget Jake, but, keep Sid's line at 5-on-5 being a real force in the National Hockey League. Well, this line's been better than that line. And this line, I dare say, has to be kept intact for anything to operate within the Sid window. Because no matter what anybody thinks of Koivunen or McGroarty or anybody else who's on the way up, they're not going to do this. And on top of that, these guys, Raquel and Rust, come at what's a really, really affordable price, considering their production. These are $5 million AAV players. They are underpaid for what they're doing. They're also very much committed to the cause. You know that from Rust. You know how he feels about being in Pittsburgh. Listen to what Raquel had to say to our reporter, Taylor Haas of DK Pittsburgh Sports, last night in Denver after the game about the upcoming deadline.
I hope not. That's the only thing that's on my mind. I mean, I love my teammates. I love playing for the Penguins. I see myself in the future here, but it's nothing I can control.
There's nothing bad about keeping Raquel, and I would argue there'd be a lot of bad if he goes, because at some point there has to be a pivot in this. There has to be an understanding that, okay, we can't just move all the old guys for all the young guys. Gino's got one more year. That'll take care of itself. Other situations will do likewise. The goaltending almost certainly will do likewise. These players, these younger players, are going to show up regardless. Why not have a first line, a whole first line, and immensely underpaid, all three of them, including Sid, first line? Why not have that first line ready to greet them? Just something to think about when we come back, J1Q. This episode is brought to you by Bet Online, your number one source for all your summer sports needs this season, from Major League Baseball, golf, NHL, NBA playoffs. Get the latest odds and lines, including all team matchups, player props, odds on just about everything that's out there. Head to the website today or use your mobile device to get in on the action. Bet Online, where the game starts. Today's J1Q comes from Jared, who asks, DK, while I have no issue in staying loyal to star players, the question that I have is, does the act of keeping multiple star players past their prime value bring more value holistically to the organization for being loyal to those players, as opposed to the it's just business card and trading them away for future success? I'm focused on the brand value of the identity of the Penguins for being loyal to their stars. Actually, Jared, I think you can throw that one out. I know what you're saying. That was part of the whole Mario Lemieux thought process. You take care of your great players, they stay there with you, and you find a way to honor them and do right by them, because the Penguins have been blessed, actually beyond words, to extremes with not star players, but, mega, iconic star players, some of the best players who've ever played the sport. But that's where I'm going to be honest with you, Jared. I'm not feeling the vibe here that you have of painting this in some sort of general terms, star players or this or that's broad in concept. This is a specific situation. This is not a situation this franchise has faced previously. It's not going to have an outcome that it's experienced previously. This is really, really unusual. I don't like to use the word unique because in French it means just one, like it's only one time that it's ever happened. And I can't say that for sure, but it might be. Sid is going to be here. Sid is going to finish his career in Pittsburgh. And that requires a respectful and appropriate adjustment to what would be a standard, rebuild/reload. And I'm totally in on that. Totally. Where he's concerned, I would say that he's a once-in-a-lifetime player, except that we've now had a couple of them. Still extraordinary. And it still has to be dealt with as its own challenge or puzzle, however anyone would care to characterize it. Dubas, and by extension, the ownership at Fenway Sports Group took that on when they went along with Sid and everybody else and said, we're going to do right by Sid. Sid signs the contract. He signs it for 3 more years of the $8.7 million, knowing full well he could get double that pretty much anywhere, including, by the way, from the Penguins. And then he did so because he wants to stay here and he wants to try to find a way to pick things back up. So you can't pretend that that isn't there. You also can't pretend, in my eyes anyway, that that's not a thing or that that's not the right course because it's Sid. So basically what I'm stressing here on the entirety of this program today is make sure that that part isn't just casually forgotten, not just by Dubas, but by everybody who'll be judging Dubas. And there will probably be at least a couple of people doing that over the next 72 hours. I appreciate the question. I appreciate everybody listening to Daily Shot of Penguins. Be back with another one of these tomorrow.